do you do a proper goodbye to a car that has meant so much for a brand? From a superstar in movies to one of the most respectful models in the luxury segment. Audi is not even sure when and if a new generation of this icon will appear. So I decided to take this 2025 Audi S8 for a proper Alps road trip and remind myself and them what an amazing car it is and why I have loved the four rings my entire life. So let's do this. For a perfect tribute to the S8, I decided to go to my favorite driving road in the world, which is the Kaunertal Glacier in the Austrian Alps. A 3-hour drive from Munich airport, quick check-in at my favorite hotel Lerchenhof where I always stay, and I was good to go. At 4 AM in the morning the next day, it was time to head up the final 45 minutes drive up the mesmerizing and panoramic Glacier Road. For any automotive lover, take your car here and you will never regret it. The Audi S8 debuted in 1996 in the D2 platform and is now on its 4th generation here with this D5 facelift known as D5.5. Throughout its generations, it has stunned the world with its perfect mix of performance and luxury. But most of all, its understated yet beautiful typical Audi looks. We have seen it in run-in, we have seen it in various models in the Transporter movies, and the S8 really has a soft spot in any automotive heart. So when Audi recently stated that they don't even know if a new generation will come, it sent shockwaves through the whole automotive industry. Instead, an even bigger SUV called the Q9 will take its place. Just as the world needed even more humongous SUVs. This right here is a 2025 Audi S8 dressed in Merlin purple and a beautiful Audi exclusive spec on the inside. It has a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 engine that pushes 571 horses and 800 Nm of torque. Exactly the same engine as you get in the RS6, RS7 and RSQ8, but with 29 horses less. Which you hardly notice, and honestly I think it's just a marketing thing to say it has less power than the big RS Trio. It's also down on power compared to the mighty 605 horsepower S8 Plus from the D4 platform. And that one will always remain the crowned king of all the generations. The D5 platform is almost 8 years old now, and you know what? Thank God for that. Because it comes from a time before the Dieselgate and has still got that Audi feel both on the outside and on the inside. In the past 3 years, Audi's new models have gotten massive criticism over the quality and design drop. You can't, for example, even recognize an A model from an S anymore. I won't go deeper into that on this video, but for more analysis on that, you are welcome to watch my over 1-hour film Speak Up for Audi, which already has over 2 million views in a few months as we speak. It's hard not to love this 2025 version. It still has that proper Audi feel, and especially the way it looks. The lovely brushed aluminum spec shows from far away that it's an S8 coming your way. You just can't miss it. Yes, I know that this D5 generation is not as respected and loved as the previous ones, especially the D4. That generation was perfection in any single way and will probably never be topped. It comes from an era where Audi paid attention to every small detail. But here is the thing. After driving Audi's brand new models in the past years such as the A5, A6, Q3, Q5 and Q6, when you approach this car you immediately feel this is a proper Audi. Look at those chromed and proud Audi rings. Look at those proud model definition badges in the front and rear. In today's S and RS models, Audi don't even let you know which S and RS it is. They even put the same badges on an A3 S-Line and an S3 for example. Participation trophy for everybody and cost savings on every corner. As I said, I'm not gonna yap about it more in this video cause I addressed it so much lately and I don't want the vibe of this film to be affected by negativity. I'm tired of it. They really need to get their stuff together. Many, including myself, were quite disappointed with the facelift of the D5. It felt like a lazy effort back then. It didn't even have a proper taillights update and the front looked now more like a big A3, especially its headlights. But now, looking at it a few years later, it does look good, especially coming from the plastic fantastic brand new S5 and SQ5 for example. It's really night and day. So just standing and looking at this S8, you can't help but admire it and smile. The way it looks, the way it still shines, and the understated elegance. It shows. It's the wolf in sheep's clothing. Now here is an area where none of the previous S8 generation can touch this one on, and that is the way it handles and drives. With its 4-wheel steering and adaptive air suspension, the Big Daddy handles like an RS4. It is absolutely incredible how it takes curves and dances around. I've said it already back in 2018 when I first drove it, and this just reminds me of how awesome it is. Driving on the twisty mountain roads of Kaunertal, you can't help but smile. Yes, it doesn't sound as good as the previous generations, but it still has that subtle V8 growl. If you want more, there are always aftermarket companies that can tune this boat easily up to 1000 horses and make it sound like a pure RS model. There are also faster cars in its class, but the S8 is still incredibly rapid and will still smoke most of the cars today. It does that effortlessly and yet you can feel its soul. But I think the typical Audi S8 customer doesn't want that in-your-face looks and performance, and probably will spend a lot of his time in the back seat being chauffeured around. Which take us straight to the next chapter. The interior of the S8 might not be as over-advanced and super high-tech as its current competitors, but that's not a bad thing, you see. Everything you need is here. And especially this is the last model with a proper Audi interior and the quality feel. As somebody who is fully against more annoying screens and also the removal of physical buttons for the AC, I have never really complained that much about the third screen in the C8 and D5 platforms. Simply because it still is so easy to use and doesn't disturb you that much when driving. You have your hand on the lovely gear shifter and have almost immediate contact with that climate control screen. The design is well thought out, which you can't say about Audi's newest models. Those give you a massive headache upon any change as soon as you want to reach out to that skateboard screen with millions of small icons that look the same. Everything in the S8 is where it should be. The quality and the small details of the gimmicks, the badges, the gear shifter. And of course that so loved virtual cockpit that has all the information that you need. The lovely steering wheel in front of you screams elegance and quality and has easy to use buttons on it. The airbag cover is classy and doesn't look like a 5-year-old designed it. All those things I mentioned in the last sentences are things that were completely butchered in the new models. Maybe it's also why I loved this S8 more than I have ever before. The only thing I can complain on in the interior are those lazy S badges which you saw for the first time in the D5 platform. Previously, a lovely full model definition S8 badge was everywhere and you knew what you were driving. Here you don't even get it in the digital cluster, which would be so easy to program in. These were the first signs of the disaster that would follow in the coming years. The Audi S8 may not be as super advanced nor as lightning fast as today's most luxurious cars, but it's not as silent and emotionless as the EVs of today. Hybrids are surely faster, but also way heavier. They all are also in a very confused automotive industry where we think the more screens, weird designs and split headlights we put on our cars, the better. That is already backfiring. Audi have put themselves in a very tough position now, listening to people a few years ago that had no idea about the heritage, history and the importance of the attention to details of the four rings. But the good thing is that the people in charge now are the ones that can turn this mess around. I know it, I feel it, I smell it, and I believe in it. They have my full support. The downside is that it will take a few years and we have to deal with these cars now. So the conclusion here is that the Audi S8 still looks amazing, sounds and handles great, has everything you need from an interior, and still has that perfect Audi feel that makes you proud of what you are driving. It would be my pick over any new high-tech luxury performance car of today. Get one now if you can, because it will take years before we see this quality again. Thank you for watching.